Greetings everyone, and welcome to this special edition of Tape Talks / Minecraft project overview. And I am actually just today wanted to feel like talking about all the different ores and minerals and metals and all kinds of stuff that I've added into my Rail-x3 modded world. And it is pretty crazy. So I am going to start off with just talking about the vanilla ores. Of course, we all know what they are: coal, iron, gold, redstone, lapis, diamond, emerald, and nether quartz. And in this picture you can see the vanilla ores on the bottom with their respective blocks on top of the ores, and then the items displayed in item frames above the blocks. But above the row of items is dense ore versions of these blocks, and so there are now the chance of finding, mixed in with the vanilla ores, so the ores will generate like they normally do, but there is a chance now that you might find a dense ore. Now of course coal and iron will be more likely found in dense pockets than say gold and diamond. But anyway, when these ores are broken, they will drop 3 ores, so 3 times the amount of a normal ore drops. So if you mine a normal gold ore, you get 1 gold ore. If you mine a dense gold ore, you get 3 times that much. Now for redstone and lapis, it gets a little more unpredictable because they drop like a lot. And then in the row above the dense ores, you can see some variations added by Railcraft of poor iron and poor gold ores. And those poor ores, when smelted, will yield 2 iron and 2 gold nuggets. So half a stack of the poor ores will get you a full inventory of nuggets. And above the lapis, emerald, and diamond dense ores, you can see dark versions of those ores. They can be found in spherical formations of abyssal stone, which can be found in the oceans and sometimes in caves. And they will drop just the normal amount of lapis, diamond, and emerald. So it makes the 3 most valuable items a little easier to find. Now, one of the new metals added by every mineral mod I got is copper. And each mod, forestry, more ores, bore ores, foundry, I cannot pronounce the name of that mod, but a metals mod, and Railcraft, as well as I think it's called More Metals Than You Can Believe, all add their own copper. So this has in turn led to different grades of copper. So some grades of copper, like the one in more ores, is pretty poor and you can't do much with it, and it can't even be made into a block. While the Railcraft copper ore, for instance, is only in poor forms and is green. Now I've only seen that ore generate once near the surface, so it will smelt 2 copper nuggets, which will make more copper. Forestry's copper ore is pretty common. So basically, there are now different grades of copper for different things. So each mod has its own copper and can only be used for that mod. Though the copper ore in the middle, however, does not work. So when you mine it, you can't smelt it. And the same situation has occurred with tin, as all the mods previously listed in the copper segment also add their own versions of tin. So you can see forestry, more ore, all of them have their own tin, which has their own ores. Railcraft, of course, has a poor tin ore, so once again you will get nuggets instead of tin ingots, but you can craft them into ingots. And the more ores tin also cannot be made into a block, which also further makes this tin more ores mod seem, well, at least to me, slightly inferior, but it's pretty interesting. Also, the more ore, the M ore, I should say, this tin block looks like emerald. Block looks like the emerald texture, only grade. Of course, the forestry tin is pretty common throughout the entire depth of the underground. Now I'm going to jump into what I think is the More Metals Than You Can Believe mod. I have to double check on the name. But these are the ores added by that mod, and it adds silver, platinum, aluminum, beryllium, lithium, nickel, osmium, lead, and there's some compounds to the right that I'll get to in a minute. But all of these ores can be generated. Beryllium is extremely rare, and so is platinum. Some in the other metals I have a hard time finding, but I have found them. And they, of course, can be smelted in their ingots. But there is a bug with my world, so the ores in this mod cannot be smelted. So they are pretty much unsmeltable, which is a bummer. It also adds in some compounds. So you have aluminum brass, beryllium brass, lithium aluminum, and beryllium copper. And these can only be combined by mixing the metals that I have previously mentioned. So beryllium, lithium, copper, and aluminum are ones that can be mixed. And you can get the mixed ingots and blocks. It also adds in more ore variants of the vanilla ores, as well as the ores it adds. So on the left here, I've used redstone for an example, is the normal redstone ore. But the mod also adds redstone gravel ore, redstone dirt ore, redstone sand ore, redstone sandstone ore, redstone netherrack ore, redstone soul sand ore, and even redstone endstone ore. And it does this for each metal. Now, the sand ores are pretty easily found in deserts. Dirt ores can sometimes be found in the bamboo forest. Gravel and sandstone ores can be found respectively wherever there is sand or gravel. I have yet to find soul sand because this mod was added after I generated a bunch of chunks in the nether. So I'd have to generate new chunks to find more. And another mod, the Atom mod, adds its own dimension, but it adds its own variations of almost all the vanilla ores, including coal, iron, gold, redstone, lapis, diamond, but no emerald. And there's also rumored of an ore called atomonite or something like that, but it has not been generated, nor is it actually in the creative tab for it in the mod. A little note though, iron ore in the Atom dimension is pretty hard to see, so you probably will miss it. And redstone ore is bugged, so when you mine it, it breaks on one hit and drops the ore, not the redstone. Now this is one of the gems mods I added, and it adds in topaz, ruby, phoenixite, agate, chrysola. It adds in a bunch. There's like citrine, I think, jade, sapphire, jasper, malachite, tourmaline, amethyst, onyx, sluglite, garnet, and spinel. So they all have ores that look like the emerald ore, except for phoenixite. And they all have blocks that also look like the emerald block, except for, once again, phoenixite. But the gems they drop are all custom. They're pretty well textured. Of course, the ruby texture is the ruby that was supposed to be added, but not. These ores have yet to be found because this is one of the newer mods I added in, so they have not generated yet. Now this, I think, is the more ore mod, or the M ore mod, and it adds in uranium, rubies, sapphire, silver, chrome, but only in the nether and end, aluminum, platinum, titanium, 2 kinds of granite, meteorite, and adds in some compounds and a funky ingot on the end. So it adds in uranium, which when smelted is turned into ingots and can be made into a block, and it's needed for a uranium powered furnace. The rubies are pretty much just a decoration. Sapphires, their ore looks like a bright glowing lapis lazuli ore, and their block texture resembles that as well. Their silver ore looks like a silver emerald ore, and their block texture looks like a slightly dulled version of quartz. Their chrome ore, which can only be found in the nether and the end, when smelted makes chrome ingots, and when put together has a block that looks like the blue redstone block. So it looks like a redstone block, but it isn't. Aluminum has its own custom block, and it kind of slightly makes me think of chiseled sandstone. Platinum, when smelted and made in the blocks, has, I think a texture, well, it looks like the uranium block texture. Platinum and titanium, I think, can only be mined with a diamond pickaxe. Now, the titanium ore also looks like a dark version of the lapis lazuli ore, and when smelted, turns into the titanium block. And it looks like netherrack, only deep blue. Now these granite ores can be found, now supposed to be the red one is supposed to be found in the nether and the black one in extreme hills, but I've only been finding red, so it might be slightly bugged, but when broken they drop chunks of granite which can be used to make some decorative granite blocks. The meteorite can only be found in the nether and looks like a blood red, a deep red version of the netherrack with orange spots that are supposed to glow, I think. And they just drop the block. You can also make stainless steel by combining chrome and iron. And first you have to put the chrome ingot and the iron ingot into a crafting table and make a chrome iron ingot, which is that funky ingot on the end. Then you smelt that and you get the stainless steel block and a stainless steel ingot. There's also bronze that you can make with some of the I think copper and tin, I don't remember. But you can make bronze and it makes a bronze ingot and its block looks like yellow obsidian. Now this is the metallurgy mod. So you can see here there is a ton of metal. So you can see promethium, deep iron, orthoclase, astral silver, mithril. I can't even read some of these. I took the screenshot a little too far out. But it adds a bunch of metals, and with their ingots and the ores look pretty neat, so you can definitely tell them apart from the others. It adds sulfur, phosphorite, saltpeter, magnesium, bitumen, I think, potash, and magnesium on the end is that bright pink one. So of course you can mine them, the metals, drop their ores, and make ingots. The utility metals, except for magnesium, drop their respective item. And they can be crafted in the blocks. So this adds some interesting metals. It also adds in its own nether metals, which include, well, the name's cut off there, but sangonite, vulcanite, kaolindite, voxerized mitzium, lumerite, shadow iron. And it adds some precious metals, including platinum, zinc, and silver. And of course all these ores can be smelted into ingots and made into blocks. It also adds in a whole bunch of compounds. So you can mix the different metals together with its equipment. It adds in an alloy mixer, a forge, and another device. I can't remember what it is right now. So you can get all these compounds. So you can see shadow steel, brass, bronze, tartarite, black steel, xmite. So you basically can make all kinds of metals and they make awesome looking armor. So that is pretty incredible. Then the next mod is another one of the ore mods, and it adds in its own ruby, sapphire, silver, nether crystal, which can only be found in the nether, ice crystals, which I assume can only be found in cold biomes because I have not found any yet, topaz, amethyst, titanium, and then you can make bronze and steel as well. Rubies and sapphires from this mod are fairly common. Silver is a little less common, but still fairly common. The nether crystals can only be found in the nether, and they drop nether crystals, which you need to use to make fire-infused diamonds for something that I am not going to get to in this episode. And the ice crystals work the same way as the nether, only they are found in cold biomes. Topaz and amethyst drop their respective items, and titanium drops its ore, which you can smelt into ingots and make blocks. Bronze and steel can be made by combining various metals from this mod with vanilla metals, if I remember correctly. So it basically adds in its own bronze. Now, a couple of oddball mods that add in their own ores. Pam's Harvest Craft adds in salt ore, which is very distinctable, has a unique texture, which when mined drops salt and you can make compressed salt blocks. The More Bows mod also adds in its own steel and something called dark quartz. Now there is no dark quartz ore, so how to obtain this is relatively unknown. And the steel is, I'm not sure how you obtain them either. So I don't know what they are, but it's pretty interesting. Biomes of Plenty also adds in its own ores, which include Ender Amethyst Biome Essence. Both the Ender Amethyst and the Biome Essence can only be found in the end, though the Ender Amethyst used to be obtainable in the now deceased Promised Land. The Promised Land, if anyone was wondering, was removed due to excessive lag caused primarily by water, though some people claimed it was the Pixies. But Biomes of Plenty also adds ruby, peridot, topaz, tanzanite, malachite, sapphire, and amber. And these ores generate in specific biomes. So rubies will generate in some biomes, tanzanite in others, amber in, I think, boreal forests. And I think malachite generates in lush swamps, I think. Of course, they can be all mined and crafted into the blocks, except for the biome essence. When you mine it, it drops random amounts of essence, sometimes none, sometimes a lot. And these biome essences can be used with a biome radar to locate specific biomes, which has helped me big time in Rail-x3. The forestry mod adds in copper and tin, but it also adds in surface apatite, which generate in massive veins and looks like a pretty important piece given the sheer size of the pockets that are found. It also adds in bronze, which you can make as well, but it has, of course, bronze has no ore. Now, Railcraft also adds in its own ores, including some variants of the vanilla ores and stuff I've already talked about. It also adds in sulfur, which I have yet to find, and I don't know where you find it, probably in Extreme Hills, I assume. Lead ore, which was found in the stronghold at the start of the rail lines for blue, green, yellow, and red. The poor lead ore, of course, makes 2 nuggets, which you can craft into ingots and blocks. Saltpeter generates in deserts with this mod, and generates just below the surface sand, though sometimes a piece or two can be discovered at the surface. It also adds in firestone in the nether, and this stuff is hot, hot, hot. It generates heat and can actually set things on fire if you hold any kind of firestone block or item. So that is pretty dangerous. Now the foundry mod adds in nickel, lead, silver, zinc, ores, as well as copper and tin, and then they can be smelted into ingots and blocks. But it also adds in its own bronze, electrum, invar, platinum. No, that's not platinum. But it adds in a whole bunch of its own metal compounds. You can see brass, aluminum, chromium, krypton, nickel, which I don't know what the heck that is. I've never even heard of it. But it adds in a whole bunch of ores, well, metals, I should say, which you can make into ingots and blocks. So you need their equipment to do so. Railcraft also adds in steel. I forgot to mention that earlier. So steel does not have an ore, so you just make the steel ingots from iron and one other mineral and make the steel block. Now on the left here you see another oddball ore. This is the Nyan ore, which is added from the Rainbow Worlds. Unfortunately, this ore has not generated naturally in the world so far, so I assume it is not compatible with Biomes of Plenty. But I do have plans on planting it somewhere in the world. And then in addition, there is also nether ores in the world, which adds its own nether ores. Now I've already mentioned the More Minerals Than You Can Believe has its own ores of the vanilla ores. Nether ores adds them in as well. So you have coal, diamond, gold, iron, lapis, redstone, and emerald. And it adds in copper and tin too for forestry. Silver, lead, and uranium I'm not too sure on. I think I've found silver. I have not found lead, but I might start generating now that I have Railcraft. Uranium I don't think is found. And the next slide shows more, so the metal on the left I can't read. but I don't think that one has been added in. Generates rubies, sapphires, and I think peridot are added because of biomes of plenty. And then there's some other ores like mithril, I think, manganese, pig iron, iridium. Those I know aren't added. That one next to the sulfur I don't know. Sulfur ore is added. Titanium, I don't know what that is. Some of these I don't know what they are and can't read the name because I took the picture too far out. So some of these don't generate, but I'm showing them anyway. And then here's some more. Tungsten, no. Amber does generate because it's of biomes of plenty. Tenonite, no. Salt is supposed to be generating, but it's not. So, and saltpeter does, magnesium does not, but it might if it recognizes metallurgy. And of course, finally, these are the most common minerals added, because they generate everywhere, is the More Minerals mod. So it adds in talc, gypsum, calcite, fluorite, its own apatite, orthoclase, and topaz, which I'm calling blood topaz because it's red. It also adds in a metal ingot, or I think it's a metal ingot, called cordium. Now, all these ores, except for cordium, can be mined, made in dropped crystals. The apatite, orthoclase, and topaz look like diamonds, and the cordium is an ingot, which can all be made into their own blocks. The geodes are a mystery block, so it could drop anything, any of the minerals from this mod, except for cordium, of course, and it can also drop sapphires and rubies. So the geode can drop colored sapphires, which could be purple, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red sapphires are ruby. They can also drop, as I said, the vanillas, like not the vanillas, but the other minerals from this mod, talc, gypsum, etc. And it can also drop nether quartz. So that pretty much wraps it up. So now I've given you a taste of an in-depth, very confusing and complicated ores and all the minerals that can be found in Rail-x3. So this is Tape. I hope you enjoyed this. I am getting close to starting on the statues, by the way. So keep in touch, I might keep you updated on that.